There are a lot of crafting scrolls inside of the First Berserker Khazan. Some of them are used for items to go against poison and chaos, and other unlock really cool armor sets. I'm going to show you how to get every single crafting scroll inside of the game. There's a lot of them, so let's get into it. Now you can find the scrolls at any time throughout the game, but to actually use the scrolls you have to unlock the blacksmith first. To actually do that you need to go through one of the main missions inside of the first region, the Charnak Mountains. That main mission is going to be the Strange Stench main mission, where you actually help free this blacksmith from the giant enemy that is the main boss for that main mission. Once you do, you'll be able to interact with him inside of the crevice, and he'll actually give you a side mission to go after one of his heirlooms that will then allow him to craft armor for you. That mission is called the Blacksmith's Heirloom inside of the Spider Tomb, an area that is unlocked after you talk to the blacksmith. Once you have completed that side mission and everything that goes inside of that side mission, you'll actually be teleported right in front of the blacksmith himself, and you'll also be able to start doing the dismantle and craft, which does a lot of different things, but we're going to be focusing on the craft side of things, as that's where all the different scrolls throughout the game from multiple different ways of getting the scrolls come into play. Now, to keep it simple for the entire part of this video, there are scrolls for basically every single utility item that you could pick up in the game, and almost every single armor set you could pick up in the game, outside of a few that can only be found as drops. The armor sets that aren't part of an actual armor set are those kind of drops and not as powerful. So now that you know the basics, let's get into the actual locations. Your very first crafting item, or crafting tome as this is going to be, can be found inside the Forgotten Temple main mission in the Charnak Mountains, the very first region you go to. From the corner leading to the abandoned Blade Nexus, follow the path I'm showing you to a small secluded corner where you are going to be ambushed by skeletons. Once you deal with those skeletons or completely ignore them, go to the item on the other side of this clearing, and it is going to be the Vitality Tome, the first of many crafting scrolls in the game. Moving into the first Act of Revenge main mission, progress through this main mission until you open up these double doors to meet an electrical dragonkin enemy. Once you do that, you'll be able to defeat that dragonkin, and inside of the items that it drops, it is going to have the Hunter Scroll that allows you to unlock that particular armor set. Now, inside of literally that exact same location where you defeat that elite enemy, you're going to see another item off towards one of the trees that is going to be a kind of purplish color. You could pick that up as well, and that's going to be the Ashen Wolf Scroll, unlocking the Ashen Wolf armor set. Next scroll that can be found is going to be inside of the Strange Stench mission inside of the Scaffa Cave, and this one can be found after you defeat another elite enemy after you progress through the main pathing of this main mission until you unlock a shortcut that goes back to the very beginning of this mission. You'll want to continue back through the main path from that shortcut entrance until you see this fallen log. Go over the fallen log and defeat the elite enemy that is going to be hanging out inside of the smaller cave. Once you do, it should drop a bunch of items for you, but inside of the item set should be the Hound Scroll. Now, staying inside of that same main mission, you want to progress into the room through the main pathing until you come across this room that is filled with all these different hanging bodies. There's going to be one particular body that is going to have a glowing item on it, and you want to use your javelin to knock it down from the ceiling. Once you do, the body will disintegrate, but it will also drop an item. That item is going to be the Pilgrim Scroll. Now, this next scroll, still in this same main mission inside of the Scaffa Cave, isn't a scroll that allows you to get an armor set, but instead it allows you to get Poison Disruption Parchment that allows you to craft something that helps you fight against poison buildup. Yes, this may not be as flashy as an armor set, but honestly it's probably one of the more powerful scrolls and one of the more powerful crafting items you can get, because you're really going to need these cleansing items. Now, sticking to the Charnak Mountain regions, we are going to start with the different side quests that are inside of this region as well. Starting off with the Night of Tragedy side quest. Progress this side quest until you get to the Bengal Lot Blade Nexus, that Blade Nexus we were just at. Progress until you see a ledge where there is going to be a body with a item on it, and that is going to give you the Fire Summon Scroll. Now, from that exact same location inside of the Night of Tragedy, you want to progress as you get all the way to the very last Blade Nexus point. We're going to come across a bunch of different undead enemies, including one of the guys with an absolutely massive sword that is going to chase you. Behind that guy, towards the end where you're going to see a broken down carriage, you'll also see a yellow glowing item. You want to pick that up, and that is going to be one of the more unique scrolls. That is going to be the Fallen Guardian Scroll. As you see, it is one of the more rare items you can get. Now, inside the Blacksmith Heirloom side quest, this one's very easy to come across because it's going to be right in front of the boss store. Obviously, you just have to progress this side quest until you get in front of the boss store, and to the side right next to the boss store is going to be these notes. Now, to even begin any of this, you obviously have to complete this Blacksmith's Heirloom side side quest. So as you do that and you have defeated the main enemy, the main boss inside of this side quest, you'll be getting the heirloom, but you'll also more than likely be getting this particular Slayer scroll. I say more than likely because there have been some discrepancies between different playthroughs that I've seen from different people, that certain elite enemies don't drop certain scrolls. So I'm giving you the information that I have seen and I have gotten myself. Moving into the second region of the game, into the Pell Plateau, you want to go into the main mission that is the Trader Revealed. At the very beginning of the game, when you come across this bridge where it breaks down, all you really want to do is continue forward until you are able to go around a small building. You'll see a very obvious ramp on the right leading up to behind this building. Follow that path past the enemies, defeating them or not, and past the fire, you're going to see the ability to pick up the fire disruption parchment. Next, continue through this main mission until you come across the Citadel. Once you're inside of this Citadel, you basically want to continue forward through the main pathing, unlocking this particular door, and continuing forward until you see a very easily broken wall. Break down that wall, and inside, in front of a small fireplace, is going to be the Bard's Scroll. Still inside of this same main mission, you want to continue through the main path once again until you come across an elite enemy that is going to be holding the key to open up the door to get to that previous collectible. Once you have defeated this particular elite enemy, it will drop a bunch of items, and one of those items is going to be the Nomad Scroll. Progress even further through this main mission until you drop down into the sewers. Once you are here, you want to progress until you come across a crossway. You can go left or right. On the right side is going to be a small room. In the back of this room, you'll see an item you can pick up. This is going to be the Earth Summon Scroll. Moving into the next main mission, which is going to be the Veiled Knives main mission, you want to progress through this area until you come across the room that you're getting poisonous enemies shot at you. You'll see a very giant spider. What you want to do is basically ignore the giant spider or deal with it and run underneath it to where you can do a quick sharp right where you'll be able to break some cobwebs, and at the end of the small tunnel that you'll unlock by breaking the cobwebs will be the man-eating spider scroll. Sticking with this same main mission, progress until you come across the Blade Nexus for the cave leading to the Citadel. From here, it's going to be very easy to spawn the item. As you progress through the main path, you'll see an item on top of a small cliff in the middle of this giant open room that you can walk up to and get to the next piece of parchment. This is going to be the Chaos Disruption parchment. Continue even forward inside of this main mission in the same underground area until you come across a room that is filled with these blue crystals. Once you are here, you'll know you're in the right direction. Once you're here, you're going to be ambushed by a bunch of different spiders, but you're also going to see an item on a small wooden platform on the right side. All you have to do is go up to that item and you're going to get your next crafting item. Now finally, progressing towards the end of this main mission, go until you come across the Blade Nexus for the Bandit Citadel. From here, you want to follow the pathing that I'm showing you because it's going to be another elite battle. Again, this is something that may or may not drop for you, but this is the elite that I defeated to get this particular Knight's Scroll. This is going to be a very long path, so I'm just going to let this play so you can follow through as best as you possibly can. Finally, moving into a new main mission, you want to progress inside the main mission Devoured Village until you come across the Village Entrance Blade Nexus. This should be your very first Blade Nexus to give you an idea. From this Nexus point, you want to go to the left side where you'll be able to go into a small set of broken down houses. Inside of here, you want to make your way to the top, ignoring enemies and going across a bunch of different ladders all the way until you go and cross another house from the ceiling that you can pick up in these rafters, and it is going to be the Deep Shadow Scroll. The scroll is going to be a long ways into this same mission until you come across an elite enemy inside of a giant test tube. Trust me, you'll be able to tell which tube I'm talking about, but once you defeat that enemy, immediately go to the top left where you can break an invisible wall. Inside you'll find a chest, but also you'll be able to find this particular piece of parchment, the Lightning Disruption parchment. Once again, keep continuing the main path inside of this main mission until you come across a giant room that is going to have an elite enemy inside of it. Once again, this will be an elite enemy that you need to defeat that will drop items, and inside of the set of items will be the Guardian Scroll. Moving into the next main mission, the Inconceivable Truth main mission, progress through this main mission until you come across the Technician Labor Camp Blade Nexus. Once you do that, you'll be able to go down an elevator into this large set of mine shafts. Progress through these mine shafts until you come across your first big corridor, and you immediately want to take a left before you go down a giant hill into this small room where you see some more cells. Inside of this small area, you'll be able to get the Defector's Scroll. Continuing further inside this main mission, go until you come across the Blade Nexus underground shaft fast travel point. In here, you're going to see another elite enemy that you can defeat, and this elite enemy, once you defeat them, will drop the Shredder Scroll in addition to a bunch of different items you can use. Moving into the side quest for the second region, we're going to start with the Kaleido side quest. This one's very straightforward. All you have to do is progress through the main pathing until you see a small ladder on the side that takes you down to an even smaller cliff. Once you are on this ledge, you'll see a golden item that you are able to pick up. That is going to be the Fallen Lord's Scroll. Moving into the Human Silence side quest, we are looking for the Butcher's Scroll, which is going to be after you go up your very first set of ladders, and you're going to very quickly see a small side room that is going to be filled with smaller enemies, but you'll also very easily be able to see an item you can pick up in this side room. That is going to be the Butcher's Scroll. Inside of the Abandoned Citadel side quest, you want to progress until you come across this large area with a couple different cages. Very quickly go into the small house to the left inside of this area, and you'll see a chest. Inside this chest is going to be the scroll that we're looking for, but it will also be booby trapped, so keep that in mind before you open up this chest. Inside this chest is going to be the Chaos Ridden Scroll. In Pavel's Final Words side quest, you want to progress through this main side quest until you come across a long hallway that is filled with a lot of different rooms that are going to basically be cells. Once you're in here, you want to go to the second room on the right, and in the corner around this small piece of cover is going to be the Assassin's Tome. Stay inside of Pavel's Final Words side quest and continue through the main path until you come across this much larger open area with a lot of statues. In front of two statues at the end of this hallway, you'll see in front of a bloody painting a scroll you can pick up. That is going to be the Furious Bandit Scroll. In the Why Have You Forsaken Us side quest from the Laboratory Wing entrance Blade Nexus, you want to continue through the main path until you drop down to this much more open area after defeating several different enemies. Once here, you're going to see a bookshelf on the right side that has a book you can interact with to open up a secret room. Simply get to the other side of this secret room where you'll be able to deal with a couple enemies, but once you deal with them, you'll also be able to see an item you can pick up. That is going to be the Warrior's Scroll. Now, as you continue through this side quest, you will eventually come across this exact room where you have to deal with elite enemies. Once you defeat these elite enemies, you will have one that drops a set of armor in addition to the Crusader's Scroll. This next scroll location will be very obvious in the Why Have You Forsaken Us side quest. When you get to this giant open room that you have to do a drop-down puzzle, on the first item on the right on a very small ledge, you'll see glowing gold. This is going to be the item that we're going after, the Beast Slayer Scroll. In the Escaping Little Mine side quest, progress until you come across the mine number 2 High Ground Blade Nexus point. From here, you want to follow the pathing that I am showing you because you have to go to a very specific point inside of this side quest. It will be a little bit longer of a jog, but what you want to do is go until you see a ladder that brings you up to another level where there are going to be a lot of different bodies hanging inside of a bunch of different spider silk. One of these bodies is going to have a item on it. All you have to do is use your javelin to hit the body down. Once that item is dropped, you can pick it up, and that is going to be the Frozen Mountain Scroll. Moving on to the third region, the Heart of Pelos, inside of the Witch's Castle main mission, you want to progress until you come across the Submerged Village Blade Nexus point. From there, continue forward until you drop down into this small area where a house is flooded. Inside of the first house you can enter, on the right you'll be able to break a door that leads to a little corner where you can pick up the Bishop's Scroll. Continue through this main mission until you come across this small corner where you were previously, but now there's no more water, and you want to be in front of this small tree. Right next to this tree is a very tiny alleyway. In this alleyway, you'll find the Water Disruption Parchment. In the Hermit's Cave main mission, you want to progress to one of the 3 major pathways you can take. The pathway we're focusing on is going to be the pathway on the right that is filled with all these different plague trees. From here, simply progress forward until you deal with a bunch of enemies and until you come across your second set of stairs that you need to go up. Right in front of those stairs, you're going to see a small clearing on your left that is going to have an item in there. That item is going to be the scroll that we're looking for. This next location is going to be for the Hallucination Disruption Parchment. It's going to be the second main path that you come across that takes you towards a bunch of different animals. This one's going to be very obvious because you'll see a ledge above you as you go through this pathway that has an item on top of it. That is going to be the item that we're looking for, and very quickly you'll see a route on your right that takes you around a small corner that brings you directly in front of where you can get this parchment and pick it up. Moving on to the Corruptor's Fortress main mission, you want to progress until you come across the gate, the giant gate to be more specific, specific, and more particularly when you open up this giant gate. From there, you want to follow the pathing that I'm showing you, because it'll be very straightforward, because you have to go to where you're getting attacked by a bunch of different ballista. That ballista, that trebuchet, as I believe they are called, is going to be an item that you can pick up. That is going to be the scroll we're looking for. Quickly moving on to the next main mission, which is called the Strange Melody. What you want to do is progress until you deal with the shadow the very first time. That will unlock the stairway that we're running up. Once you do that, you'll come across a hallway and immediately turn to your left. That will open up a door. Be careful, because the floor inside of this room is false. You want to take a very slow approach, go to the right side and go around the edge as best as you possibly can to the item on the other side, which is going to end up being that golden scroll. The next scroll inside of the Strange Melody main mission is very easy. Progress through until you have to fight an elite enemy. Once you defeat that elite enemy, like a lot of these elite enemies on this list, it will drop a bunch of items, but it will also drop the Saint Scroll once it is defeated. Moving on to the third region side quest inside of the Lacrima side quest, this will be very simple. Once you defeat an elite enemy, you don't want to pick it up from the elite enemy itself. It'll be at the statue behind where the elite enemy is spawned in. This is the Soul Eater Scroll. In the Velusa's Axe side quest from the laboratory basement blade next, to simply follow through the main path until you get to the very end of the room that is filled with all these different lasers and small annoying enemies. At the very end, right next to a large set of bookcases, you'll see an item that you can pick up. That is going to be the Dragon Scale Scroll. In the Unrequited Love side quest, you want to progress from the very beginning of the side quest until you come across the second floor library. Once here, you want to go to the edge where you'll see a small set of stairs you can run over to get to the golden item that you can very easily see in the corner. This is the Drowned Witch's Scroll. This next scroll inside of the same Unrequited Love side quest is going to be after you defeat another elite enemy inside of the main open hall inside of this side quest. Once you defeat them, you'll have some items drop, but you'll also have the Dragon Knight Scroll drop along with those items. Inside of the Atlante the Precise side quest, you want to progress forward, and very quickly you're going to interact with an elite enemy that is going to charge at you. Again, this is going to be an elite enemy that you need to defeat. Once you have defeated this elite enemy, it will drop items, but it will also drop a scroll, and that scroll is going to be the Executioner's Scroll. Now, still inside Atlante the Precise side quest, you want to follow the path I'm going to be showing you, because it is going to take you past the elite enemy that we talked about just a second ago, but it's going to take you into a smaller clearing inside of all these different plague trees where another enemy is going to ambush you. Deal with the enemy or not, but you want to go into this corner on the right side where you're going to see another glowing yellow item. That is the item that you want to pick up to get this particular scroll. This is going to be the Fugitive Mage's Scroll. In the last Sentinel side quest, you want to progress through the main path until you come across the small sliver of the castle itself where you have to defeat an elite enemy that is going to drop items and the Radiant Guardian Scroll. Staying inside of this same side quest, progress until you come across the courtyard that is going to be filled with plague water. In front of the big fountain, you'll see an item you can pick up, and that is going to be the Bloodthirsty Fiend Scroll. Moving into the Transcendental Sword side quest, you want to progress through a fair amount of this side quest until you come across this large maze that is going to be filled with a variety of different enemies. Don't worry, the path itself will be very straightforward. Once you get to the point where there is going to be a Spellblade that starts fighting you, you'll see a small ledge on the right in front of some crumbling ruins and a statue that is going to have a chest. Opening up this chest will trigger a bomb, but after the bomb is done, you'll be able to get this golden item that is going to be this particular scroll, the Crushed Dreams Scroll. Inside of the Remnants of Chaos side quest, when you teleport for the third time, you'll very quickly come across a small staircase that you want to take a left to, and then another left through a secret wall. Inside of here is going to be a very unattended, unending tragedy scroll. Moving on to the fourth and final region, the Vitalon capital. Inside of the Fall of the Empire main mission, you want to go from this particular plate nexus point. Thankfully, where you're going to be looking for the scroll is very easily outside of the broken window, the broken wall, onto the small scaffolding to get the mercenary scroll. Now, next to that same location that we just were for the other crafting scroll, there will be an elite enemy that you need to defeat to get the Flesh Ripper scroll. Unfortunately, that actual location was corrupted in my files, but just know it's right next to the previous scroll. Moving into the Bloodied Sanctuary main mission, you want to move until you get right in front of the sanctuary itself. From here, you want to follow the path that I am showing you because it'll be fairly straightforward to actually get this particular scroll. Simply follow the main path as you go up a large set of stairs until you come across a priest and two demons praying in front of this altar. Simply defeat those enemies, and in front of the altar, you'll see an item that you can pick up, and that is going to be the Temple Knight's Scroll. Continue through this main mission until you open up the shortcut that brings you back right in front of the citadel itself. From there, you want to turn back around to where you saw an elevator that will take you through the main path still, but that's not what we're going to be focusing on. You want to take the small ladder as on the other side of that elevator, and on top of the roofs that you are currently on top of after going down the elevator, you want to go to the left side. That allows you to drop down to another ledge that you see a small item. That is going to be the next scroll that we are going to be picking up. Now, for spoiler-free sake, all I'm going to say for this next particular crafting scroll is that you have to complete the final boss fight inside of the Bloody Sanctuary main mission. I'm not going to spoil it because it does say a lot of different things about the story itself if I tell you who the boss is. This is also the same situation for the Master of Chaos main mission. This particular boss will also spoil a lot of things for the very ending of this game, so I'm not going to talk about that as well. Just know that whatever ending you pick, it doesn't matter. You just have to defeat this boss to get a particular scroll. Now, to round out the 4th region, you want to go inside of the Vow side quest, literally all the way to the end where you see all these different statues. Once you are here, you're going to see the top left statue have an item in front of it. This is going to be the Devourer's Scroll. And finally, the amount of crafting items that you've probably randomly come across by the enemy challenges is probably very numerous, but if you haven't looked at these whatsoever when you have been told that you have completed these challenges, I highly recommend you do, because some of these challenges are the only way that you'll be able to get very specific crafting scrolls and very specific crafting items. As you can see, as you go through the game, more and more of these challenges are unlocked as you interact with very specific enemies. So if you want to get one of those more specific crafting items from all these different challenges, I highly recommend you look at this Defronis Codex and go through that. I'm not going to cover every single one in here simply because it is super easy for you to look them up yourself inside of the game, because all of these challenges will be available to you as soon as you go through the entire game, which you have to get all the other crafting items anyway. So that is every single location, challenge, and area that you could go to basically get every single outfit, every single crafting item inside of the game for the First Berserker Khazan. As you see, there are certain very specific ways to get certain scrolls and crafting items that aren't really just a location you can find in the game, but very specific challenges to be completed. Overall, I hope you guys found this walkthrough and search guide helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below for me so I know that you did find this helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.